YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back with an updated 2020 NFL mock draft, going through my 2 rounds, first multi-round mock draft here for us. Playoffs are still going on. We got that covered fully, but it already feels like draft season and off season for the NFL for a lot of these teams, so I'm happy to start covering this even more going forward. We have 2 channels now at the GOAT House. Please subscribe to both. We're trying to reach that 40K sub goal for both. If we get our new channel, the GOAT House Plus, to kind of match the subscriber rate of our current channel, this channel, then we can add a lot more rounds onto this mock draft earlier than expected. So that's the deal there. So please help us out by subscribing to both of our channels. Extra content on the GOAT House Plus. There's a link in the description and the comments to every single video. Follow us on Twitter at GOAT House NFL. There's a link in the description. Always keeping you guys updated. Always talking football. And maybe we'll do some 7-round mock drafts for random teams here and there on the Twitter. So maybe we'll pick a random follower every once in a while and they choose the team I do it for, so we can throw that on the Twitter as well. Patreon has even more content. You'll have access to all kinds of NFL content for draft season, even during the playoffs. You get score predictions and you help support us. So check all that out. Link in the description. Please subscribe to both channels and follow that Twitter. Let's go through pick by pick here for this mock draft. Real good class, mainly offensive class, which we're really not used to. But at the top, still got Joe Burrow going first to the Bengals. It's a no-brainer. A very safe pick. A very safe pick for a quarterback, which is rare to me. There's really no big flaw to his game. Like, you really can't find a major flaw to his game. So I think the only reason it doesn't work is it would be the Bengals' fault. But I see it working. I see some similarities. I talked about this in the past. I think a better version of Jared Goff, actually, but I see some similarities there, which Zach Taylor, coming from the Rams, coming from that tree, is familiar with. So that's a good thing there. I think they can make things work. I think we'll see a different type of offense in Zach Taylor's second year because of a guy like Joe Burrow. And they have the weapons. Obviously, they need to help with the offensive line. They do have Jonah Williams coming back. So, and maybe they haven't drafted in the best way on the offensive side recently, but I think they have done a decent job in the defense of side, so I think those guys are going to start to come along. So I like Joe Burrow to the Bengals, pretty obvious there. Another pretty obvious, you can almost lock in the top 2 picks right now, which is pretty wild. Chase Young to the Redskins, edge rusher from Ohio State. Some believe is the best player in the draft. It's between him and Joe Burrow, best player in the draft. The best non-quarterback in the draft, that's a guarantee. I think he fits any type of defense. We've seen Ron Rivera. We've seen him run mostly a 4-3 there in Carolina, but this last year they kind of went hybrid. They changed it up a bit, gave some different looks, some 3-4 looks at times. It doesn't matter what they decide to do because Chase Young can run either. Very athletic, very instinctive player, freakish player. He'll go second overall. The future looks pretty bright, pairing him with Montez Sweat. Don't forget they still have a very productive pass rusher in Ryan Kerrigan, but that could be a guy that could actually go on the trading block, which they can get some more picks out of. So that's something interesting to look out for. But yeah, like I said, first 2 picks, pretty much a lock right now. It feels like. You never know. Maybe the Redskins feel like they can trade back and still get Chase Young. You never know. I think the draft, it feels like the draft starts at pick 3. Tough decision here for the Lions. There's a couple different routes you can go, but I felt very comfortable going with Derek Brown, the defensive tackle, Auburn. I think he has a similar impact to a guy who was a top-tier player last year in Quinnen Williams. He can move around the D-line. He brings that extra pass rush ability. Usually these guys are elite in run stopping, but over the years they started to fall down draft boards a little bit because it's a passing league and you have to be able to rush the passer. We've seen some teams that are so good rushing from the edge, but they struggle to rush from the inside, and that's kind of their flaw. Derek Brown, much like Quinnen Williams, he has both. He gets after the quarterback from the nose, from the 3 technique spot, wherever it may be. We even seen him line up at a 3-4 end spot almost. He's going to play interior for the Lions if they draft him. The Lions, everyone was kind of hyping up their D-line this year, and it was insanely underwhelming. And then you got Snacks that could be moving on. I don't think he'll be back, maybe anywhere. Derek Brown is an upgrade over anybody they have and kind of gets Patricia going where he needs to be able to get going in that defensive line, stopping the run and getting after the quarterback. So this pick, other picks make sense. This one made the most sense to me, and he's an elite prospect in my opinion. So Lions take Derek Brown. The Giants go Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia. I think he's a plug-and-play tackle. I think they would like him at right tackle. That's pretty much what they need. They need one more guy, I think, on the right side, in my opinion. And that's what they get here. I think the best offensive lineman in the draft. There's some elite guys, top tier guys, I should say, in terms of offensive lineman. But then there's a pretty big drop off. So the Giants for sure want to grab one here, but they can't reach for one. But you don't with Andrew Thomas. They want to do. Their identity is Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones can throw, and you want to keep him protected because he does have the fumbling issue. So you kind of get a 2-for-1 here. You're able to run block at a higher level because you're adding that last piece, but you're able to protect Daniel Jones. I mean, that's your future. Well, it's obvious. Your future is Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. That is the most important pieces of your future. That is their future, and they have to keep them protected. And that's what you do here with Andrew Thomas with the 4th pick. They're in a prime spot to get that. And the Dolphins who just recently declared they get Tua, the quarterback from Alabama, at the 5th overall pick. This could be the trade-up spot. I'm not doing any trades yet. Way too early for that. You start creating a mess. But Tua Tagovailoa is the pick here. I'm very confident about it, even though it is a little risky because he had that serious hip injury, which was a major injury. But it seems like the recovery is actually looking pretty good from what I heard, but there's going to be more tests and stuff done. But they could actually trade up because you're looking at teams that may want to trade down, Lions, Giants, whatever it may be. Redskins would be a wild card, but why not? They don't want to risk, missing on Chase Young, so most likely they stay put. And the Dolphins want to make sure they get this guy here, and they take the Bama quarterback. Like I said, the top 2 picks could be locks. The one reason I don't want to say 100% lock is because there are a lot of people out there that do like Tua better than Joe Burrow. So what if, I don't think it'll happen, but what if the Bengals took Tua and then the Dolphins, among other teams, maybe racing to trade up to get Joe Burrow. So that could be very interesting. But Tua is a heck of a prospect, heck of a quarterback here. It's one of those guys, you build the system around him, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We see what Lamar Jackson's doing. Lamar Jackson is the system. I'm not comparing Tua to Lamar Jackson whatsoever, 2 totally different type of guys. But there's just so much to their game, and where the system is those players. So the Dolphins get their quarterback of the future here. I honestly think if they want to just build around the quarterback first, I think that's not the worst idea too. Honestly, I think if you do that, you probably could win with a free agent quarterback or even Ryan Fitzpatrick. You can win games like that. But in this scenario, I like them getting Tua. The Chargers go Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle, Iowa. Pretty confident this would be a lineman here. A wild card would be a quarterback, but pretty confident in an offensive lineman. And you can go Tristan Wirfs or you can go Wills from Alabama. I like Wirfs from them. It seems like a good fit. I think you can put him at either tackle spot. I think worst case scenario, he's a playing guard at a very, very high level. And this guy can run block. What you like about him is you see him pulling and you see him way downfield, just punishing guys downfield. And the Chargers, I know they got to re-sign, their running back or Melvin Gordon, even though I like Eckler a little more, but they like both their running backs there. They like using multiple backs. And it would be key for them, especially if they want to continue to use Eckler in kind of that short game, the slip screen game, which works wonders for them. They should have done more. Wirfs is that guy, to pull outside in front of a guy like Austin Eckler. So I really love the fit there with Tristan Wirfs to the Chargers. The Panthers go Jeff Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State. They this morning just hired Matt Rule, former Baylor coach, as their head coach to a 7-year deal. The thing I like about Matt Rule is he can contribute to the entire team, which you expect him to for a head coach, but he can contribute on both offense and defense. He's both. He actually early in his career was a defensive guy. Recently, success being an offensive guy, but he can bring both. And I know he's not the general manager, but he'll have a lot of say. They gave him a 7-year deal and a lot of money for a reason. But the thing about him, he's just going to bring in the best football player. He's just going to find the best football player. The best player on the board at this point is Jeff Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State. He's today's NFL cornerback. Athleticism, instincts, and looking at him, he doesn't look like maybe he'll be that physical, but he'll surprise you with his physicality. He's a big time playmaker. He could actually be one of the better corners in football in pretty early on in his career. The Panthers. I like Dante Jackson. Bradbury actually had a surprising year. He hasn't been anything special until this year. Early this year, he looked pretty good, but he's going to be a free agent. I think I know this is a way cheaper option, and I did like what Bradbury put on the field this year, but Okudah is better day one, actually, for a rookie, and it's a much cheaper option. So I think they can pair Okudah with Dante Jackson for the future there, and it's the best player on the board at the time. So I do like that. For the Panthers, mainly because they just get the best player, and I think that's what they're all about. That, a wild card would be quarterback. I think they need a receiver pretty badly, so they could be the first ones to take a receiver. They need somebody to pair with DJ Moore, open things up for him. Christian McCaffrey, offensive line could be another one. So they can go multiple different things, but I'm thinking Jeff Okudah in this actual scenario, I should say. 8, the Cardinals go CeeDee Lamb. It's so easy to put CeeDee Lamb in there, receiver Oklahoma, and that is for multiple reasons. Because the obvious is because that is Kyler Murray's receiver, and to me, I think this could be. There's still a lot of film to go over and a lot to go over. It's still early, but this could be the best receiver in the draft class. Really everything. He has everything. I mean, there's really not a flaw to his game. He can run routes. He can be physical too. He's got the speed, the athleticism. He can high point the ball. So he fits in there. But another big reason is nobody uses receivers like the Cardinals. You think when all that came out about Jarvis Landry and Odell telling the Cardinals to come get me, you think they were saying that because the Cardinals are a really good team? No, they were saying it because they're going to get tons of action if they're on the Cardinals. That's the number one spot for the action. They use 4 or 5 sets more than anybody in the league, so that means they value receiver more than anybody in the league. They have a few receivers that are good. Larry's still playing at a high level. How much longer does he have, though? Christian Kirk's very solid. They got a couple of rookies that could be solid. They're going to get Akeem Butler back next year, but they can get a lot better here with their game. This is their game. So they go CeeDee Lamb. They can get a lineman in the second round because they do need one of those too. They do need defensive help, but what is the identity of the Cardinals? If they're going to win with this coach, this quarterback, this team, if they're going to win, successfully, far into the playoffs, what is it going to be? 100% of the people out there will say the same answer. It's offense. A high-powered offense is their key to success. So go make it a high-powered offense. That's my thinking around that. But it could be offensive lineman for that reason too. But CeeDee Lamb makes just too much sense. We're on to the next 8 picks. The Jags go Isaiah Simmons. I pretty much have the same picks for the Jags as I always do. It just seems like that. Isaiah Simmons fills a huge need at linebacker. I think he will play linebacker. He's got a lot of reps in the slot. He's got time at safety. I think he'll be a very rangy, athletic linebacker in the league. Blitzing is more key now than ever in the league. It's game-changing. It's game-changing in some ways, down the line, because you can't blitz on early in games. Mainly it's, calling them at the right times in crunch time. So Isaiah Simmons I think will be a big-time linebacker for that reason, among others. Freak athlete. We'll see him at the combine. Jags need a linebacker. They need somebody to pair with Myles Jack desperately. I even think Myles Jack could pick up his game. I think Isaiah Simmons could very, very, very quickly be their best linebacker easily on their team. So I like Simmons for them. The Jags are tough because they need to fill these holes on defense, but they also, the offense just wasn't putting them enough points. So we're going to talk more about that with the Jags as this mock draft goes on. The obvious pick here, the Browns take Jedrick Wills, offensive lineman from Alabama, could play either tackle spot, and that's exactly what the Browns need. It's a no-brainer pick. They could be trading up for an offensive lineman, actually. It's very possible. They may, like I said, the Chargers, I think, would like Tristan Wirfs ahead of Wills. I think the Browns could like Wills over Tristan. Either one, actually. It depends on what the Browns, their identities on offense really don't know yet, but they got to build it around Baker. And I say we don't really know fully yet because, we're still waiting on their new coach. But Wills would be a great pick here. And that kind of ends it for the top-tier offensive linemen. That's kind of the bad part in terms of tackles, I should say. 11, the Jets go Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, they need offensive linemen too, but like I said, it kind of ends it for, a top 16 pick or whatever, top 20 pick for a top-tier offensive lineman, and they need tackles. So I think they probably should make this pick anyways because Darnold needs more help, and a guy like Robbie Anderson's a free agent. And they have other receivers that can play. Don't get me wrong. Hopefully Quincy Enunwa's back and ready for them. And Jamison Crowder, those guys can play. Don't get me wrong. But you can find a lot better receivers. And Darnold definitely needs some more help. Sometimes he kind of wants to just throw the ball. He just wants to just launch it, even in, situations he shouldn't. And then, what better to get a guy, the best player on the board at this time, that can run routes. He's a freak athlete. He can actually go up and get the ball. He's crazy after the catch. You'll go get a guy like Jerry Jeudy. So we see 2 Alabama guys go in a row there. And the Raiders it was a tough decision, Raiders. I was going receiver here. The decision between Justin Jefferson and Henry Ruggs, we can go back and forth on that. I went with Justin Jefferson because I think he has more to his game. Ruggs has electric speed. Justin Jefferson has everything. Another one of those receivers that I just can't find a flaw to. I think it's a safe receiver. It's a guy that's going to get open underneath and in the deep ball. I think perfect for the Raiders offense here. So Justin Jefferson coming off a monster game against Oklahoma, in a monster season, I should say. I would like that pick very much. It's a guy that I've been high on for quite some time now. People are starting to realize it. So the Raiders go with a receiver there. I might surprise some people here with these next picks. Colts take Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. Early in the year, it looked like Brissett was pretty solid. As the year went on, just not enough. And I don't know if there's enough trust in the staff and him either. Just not enough firepower, not enough big playability. They can they can keep him clean, I guess I can call it. He'll have his turnovers, but I think for the most part he can manage the game. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And they can coach that, but you can't really coach that big playability. You either have it or you don't. And Jordan Love has it. You got to clean him up a little bit, and the Colts offensive staff will be very confident on cleaning that up. Another thing, there's rumors that they really like Jordan Love. I never really believe these rumors, but actually a lot of the time, the rumors now are way more accurate than once we get to the draft. Some smoke starts to come out and we kind of have those, that was accurate way back then. We kind of have those moments. Another thing is Ballard has been at a lot of Jordan Love's games, which I've noticed too, but I love starting to grow on me a little more. He's a big play guy. He's got to clean him up a little bit, and these scouts, these GMs, these coaches will evaluate not just this year, which a lot of the media is doing. A lot of people on Twitter are doing. What he did last year was outstanding. Lost some weapons. His offensive line was bad. His receivers were atrocious this year. They had no running game. Jordan Love can play. And actually, I have him going ahead of Justin Herbert, which I might have him ahead of him in the big board too. I would like him for the Colts. They need some other pieces as well. The Bucs, maybe the trickiest team here in this whole mock draft. They go Justin Herbert. I think actually a little early for Justin Herbert because this guy's got insane arm talent. He's athletic. He can run. He's actually a pretty solid runner. He's not the fastest dude. He's fast for his size. But yeah, can he read defenses? Can he take that next step? Early when he was a freshman, I was planning on this guy to be like the top tier quarterback because basically then when they're young, you don't expect them to be able to go through progressions, read the defenses, understand the offense, understand the game. You don't really expect that. You kind of just go off arm talent. This guy has all the arm talent in the world. What you like to see is improvement in all those categories. And I really didn't see it. He's a good football player. How will he be outside of Oregon? That's kind of the other questions. But I like the situation because to me, the Bucs' biggest need, well, obviously they need to find a quarterback. But to me, their biggest need is actually, to me, running back. They need to up that running game big time. That will open up things for the passer. So in this situation, I kind of have Jameis Winston coming back for a year because you're not really sold on Jameis Winston yet either, and they can have Herbert sit and learn behind him. They could use an offensive lineman too, but kind of going back to that running back offensive line, it might be too early, specifically tackle. It might be too early to grab one of those guys here. And like I said, the big-time tackles have come off the board already. So you may take the chance on Herbert and be your future quarterback, maybe not right away. That's a tricky spot in this draft. It could be a trade up or a trade back spot for the Bucs. That's a key team. The Broncos, I got going Henry Ruggs. Like I was saying, I was discussing Justin Jefferson versus Henry Ruggs for the 12th pick. Ended up going Jefferson. I think he's got more to his game. Ruggs has electric speed. He can run routes because of his athleticism and his movement. He's a big play guy. I just think Jefferson has a little more to his game, but it's perfect for the Broncos. Pair him with Cortland Sutton. Man, that is a duo. I think they'll complement each other very well. I would like, Drew Lock with Sutton and Ruggs. I would like that future a lot. And the Falcons go AJ Epinesa. No surprise. They need pass rush. And they get that instantly with Epinesa at the defensive end position with them. It could be him and Tack McKinley. They could look to add even more too. So I think that kind of be a no-brainer pick at this point. But it is tricky with the Falcons because we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. My thinking on the Falcons. We'll get there. We got a 2-round mock. I'll have to get through here. I actually got another receiver coming off the board for the Cowboys, which maybe could be a little surprising, but I think it's be a great pick. T. Higgins, well worth the pick. Very athletic dude with a lot of size, but he can run after the catch too. He's a lot of speed for his size. And a key part of that Clemson team, we see him come out of the game, come back in, and it kind of made the difference in that last game against Ohio State. But the Cowboys, wide receiver, well, you got a free agent, Amari Cooper, which you think they would get back. They're going to hopefully get back. And Michael Gallup looks pretty solid. He looks pretty solid, but you need more. You need more, and now adding Mike McCarthy. When Mike McCarthy had his success with the Packers, they had a pretty good unit out there. They won with offense. They won with Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers had his best unit. That's when they won. And now the last couple of years, receivers been an issue for the Packers, especially when Mike McCarthy was there. And they want to pass first. Mike McCarthy, he wants to pass first. So, they're going to make sure they get another receiver. Another thing with Cooper, too, seems to come out of games a lot. It seems to be a thing. So, I think they really need another receiver. A guy like T. Higgins, the guy Jerry Jones will like a lot, and kind of fit in that offense and what they want to do. The Dolphins, they took Tua with the first pick. Now they're getting that edge rush spot. It would be great to get a offensive lineman, for the Dolphins here, for Tua, but maybe a little too early. They take Chase on, the edge rush from LSU, who I think I'm higher on than everybody else. Freakish guy, freakish talent. I think he can play the 4-3 or the 3-4. We've seen him light it up against Oklahoma. We've seen him light it up all year. A freakish guy. Brian Flores will want to work with this guy. It's going to be a very appealing guy to want to work with. The Raiders take Kenneth Murray. I think I've had Kenneth Murray to the Raiders a lot. Team that needs a linebacker in this kind of range. Speaking of range, he's a very rangy linebacker. I think today's NFL linebacker, freak athlete. You can put him inside. He can play there, stop the run. He can blitz very well. You can put him on the outside. He can edge rush. He can drop back in coverage. He can do it all. Durability kind of the only concern. Javon Kinlaw, which is, it's supposed to say DT there. He's a defensive tackle, so apologize for that. Hopefully people are listening. South Carolina. You see that number 20 pick, Jags, number 20. Number 20 doesn't tell you how good Javon Kinlaw is. I think he's a lot better than that. He may be in the top 10 of my big board when it's all said and done. Freak guy, not too far off from Derek Brown. Teams draft off need, though, which is kind of a mistake sometimes when reaching, so that's how Kinlaw fell down here. The Jags, this would be an A-plus grade in my eyes. When we go live during the first round of the NFL draft, at the end of that live stream, I grade, and then I make videos on grades. If this was the draft for the Jags, Isaiah Simmons and Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from South Carolina, it'd be an A-plus. It'd be an A-plus day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Eagles got Laviska Shenault, a do-it-all receiver. Kind of got that big body at the same time to be able to move, almost like he's smaller. Can run any route. You can put him in the backfield if you want. Only concern with him is durability. Colorado used him everywhere, and he kind of wore down a little bit at times. That's the only concern, and that may scare. That was the hard part. About me giving the Eagles Shenault, because they already have that situation, but a huge need, well worth the pick. And, the best receiver at this point of the draft. So the Eagles go with Shenault. That's a scary one. The Bills, another team to me that need a receiver. Receiver is pretty bad, but I didn't go receiver here. After Shenault, I think there is a drop down. I think in what the GMs and the scouts' minds would be, there is a little bit of a drop down. So you kind of can wait. People are saying it's a great receiver class. It's a loaded receiver class, so you might as well wait and get one later. I don't think that applies at this point of the mock draft. It applies at this point of the draft. I don't think that applies from the start at all, because there are some top-tier elite receiver prospects up here, a lot of them. So there is a big difference from even a Shenault to a second or third round guy, a huge difference. But after that, maybe it starts to drop down a bit. So the Bills take best player available, and in my opinion, a giant need and a great fit here in Terrell Lewis from Alabama. I think a big need, because you look how good this Bills defense is. You look how good it is, and it's that good without a legit pass rush. Hughes and Trent Murphy get some good pressure, but they could be better in terms of actually completing, finishing the job. Terrell Lewis can do that. But what I like about him in the Bills defense, they got Trent Murphy on the line all the time. Hughes or even sometimes Lorenzo Alexander on the opposite side, kind of off the ball. It's kind of like a hybrid defense over there. It's exactly what Terrell Lewis is. He can put the hand in the dirt down there. He can step off. I've seen him rush from inside position, whether it's off the ball or on the ball. Terrell Lewis I like a lot. Kind of can make an impact of what Zadarius Smith's doing this year for the Green Bay Packers. I would love this pick for the Bills. I might be higher on Lewis than most people as well. Patriots is a no-brainer pick here. Cole Kmet. I've been preaching this for a while, that he's tight end number 1 and that he is a fit with the Patriots. I just haven't had a mock draft yet, because I got all signs that said he was going to go back. He comes out. This guy's a beast. He, there's a little Gronk in him. He's no way he's Gronkowski. I think Gronkowski is the best tight end of all time. But another person I see a comparison with here actually is a former Notre Dame tight end University here, Kyle Rudolph, but he actually has more athleticism than Kyle Rudolph, and we see in the career that he's had. So I would love Cole Kmet for the Patriots. I think Cole Kmet is a first-round pick. This guy is a stud, and he's improving at a rapid rate. Saints go receiver, another receiver, Jalen Reagor, receiver from TCU. You talk about Henry Ruggs, electric speed. Well, how about Jalen Reagor? This guy has just as much speed as Henry Ruggs, and that's what the Saints need. I almost gave him a totally different type of receiver. We'll talk about that guy in a little bit, but they need the speed. They kind of need to replace Ted Ginn. Reagor, I think, could do a little more, underneath, deep ball, everything. I think he can do it all. And what is underrated about Jalen Reagor? He's under 6 foot. He's crazy speed. So you kind of think that's his game. He's actually got a pretty good jump ball ability, contested catch ability, when high pointing the ball, I should say. So I like that about him. Pairing him with Michael Thomas really opens things up for that Saints offense. Really, no matter the quarterback, which is another hot topic coming up. We're on to our next picks. Titans take Christian Fulton, cornerback, LSU, a guy that I think people are higher on than I am, actually. But I do like Christian Fulton, big playability, big time on the outside for that LSU secondary. You can categorize him as a playmaking corner, or I think anything. He's not the most physical guy, but he's got everything summed up. And the Titans, I think their biggest need is actually as long as they get their QB back, which I think they will, and their biggest need is actually pass rush. But after Terrell Lewis comes off the board, there's a little bit of a drop off. There's a couple guys that are worth this pick, but the Titans are very good at drafting best available. They have done a very good job. They're not going to reach at all. So I think corners, their second biggest need. See some injuries back there. They also can get better for the future. So I think they would go Fulton here. The Vikings take Trevon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama. And I almost, in a way, hate putting Trevon Diggs here because it's kind of corny. It's kind of cheesy because his last name's Diggs. He happens to be the brother of Stephon Diggs. But I have to put him here because... And that's not the reason at all. This is a Mike. I talked about this in the past. This is a Mike Zimmer corner. Mike Zimmer always wants those physical corners, and sometimes they're not the best playmakers or they don't have enough athleticism. Diggs has all of it. There's some things we got to clean up. Just things, pressing at the line. He can press. He can be physical. Just his technique, and Mike Zimmer will want to do that. This is a Mike Zimmer corner right here. Trevon Diggs, and there's another corner that we'll talk about in the second round that I strongly consider to be a Mike Zimmer corner as well. But I like Trevon Diggs here. I think well worth this pick. Dolphins take DeAndre Swift. They desperately need a running back. They need a running game. Could possibly take the best back in the class here. Again, they need offensive line, mainly tackle. They may wait to do this here depending on what's on the board in this scenario. That's what I got. So DeAndre Swift, the do-it-all running back there from Georgia, I think could be the first running back off the board, kind of battling with another running back coming up. Seahawks take Trey Smith. Still waiting to hear. He's a 50-50. He's going to go back or not. So maybe by the time you're listening to this, maybe he already went back. So I feel bad about that. But Trey Smith's going to be the best guard in this draft, true guard in this draft class. Guys like Wirfs possibly could be moved to guard, and he can be damn good there. But Smith is the best true guard. Former tackle, former top recruit. Only thing with Smith is, if he declares, everything's got to check out health-wise. He's had some health issues, nothing on the field injury-wise. So hopefully that gets checked out. This guy is a beast offensive guard. Would love him on the Seahawks. They got some free agents coming, and you just got to keep Russ protected, but at the same time, your main game is running inside the tackle, so you want to keep that all locked up there. So I would love Trey Smith there. The Chiefs, I want my J.K. Dobbins, running back, Ohio State, climbing up my board. I think everybody's board. This guy's got the vision. What are the most important things about running backs? There's a whole bunch of traits, but the two major traits for a running back, vision and quickness hitting that hole. Vision because you have to be able to find the hole, and I want to see you hit the hole at a very quick rate. And I think J.K. Dobbins has top tier traits in those categories, really. And the Chiefs, everybody wants to go corner. Yeah, they could use another offensive lineman. Like I said, they're starting to come off the board. The real good ones. Corner is probably the biggest need. But you break down this team. What are they? If they're going to win, what are they going to win with? They're going to win with offense. This has to be an elite offense for them to win the championship, to win the Super Bowl. And they're really the only thing they're missing is a running back that can kind of do it all. Damian Williams, I think he's a good fit. I think he's pretty solid. But you definitely can get better in that category. And J.K. Dobbins, to me, fits so well. And you make your offense that much better. It makes the whole offense better, not just the running game. So to me, I would love this pick. This pick makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of people that don't really. I don't really look at a whole bunch of different mock drafts, but I haven't really heard anything about this. Just something that I really like. Packers go receiver. They go Tyler Johnson, receiver from Minnesota, who's coming off a monster game against Auburn, of all teams, too, a good defense. He's had a really productive career. We started noticing him last year. So another impressive receiver, yet another one off the board. But the Packers desperately need another one. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. Devontae Adams, a good guy to pair with Tyler Johnson. I've seen some comparisons, Tyler Johnson to Devontae Adams. I'm not really seeing that comparison. Maybe what pops in my head, maybe like a poor man's A.J. Green. I like the length of Tyler Johnson. He can run any route. There's people are split on him. I've seen first round, and I've seen even thirders. I like him around here. I think he's a good fit with the Packers, and that's the type of receiver they'll like, and the offense will definitely get better in this situation. I got Grant Delpit falling all the way down to 31, safety from LSU. He's falling down the board, and I think it's very, very realistic, obviously, that I have him here, that he falls down because of the tackling situation. It is a concern. The guy can tackle, so don't get me wrong here, but it's a concern, putting himself in maybe wrong situations and then kind of missing some tackles. Everything else, he's super instinctive. He's a playmaker, whether he's in the box, whether he's in the back by himself, in the center field, wherever it may be. He's a playmaker. We saw his teammate Greedy Williams for the same reason. Had everything to his game, but kind of lacked in the tackling department. He fell for that reason. A lot of corners went before him. I don't think Delpit falls quite that far because he has more, an instinctive game to his game, in a different position. But I think he can fall because of that tackling. I think the Niners will be able to coach him up, and they have a bunch of guys that, kind of can, help him, around him. It's a good defense to go in. Jimmy Ward's going to be a free agent. And even if they got him back, they can use a guy like Delpit to kind of, move around different spots. So I like that very much for the Niners. They're too good to pass on at that point. And the Ravens, Curtis Weaver, edge rusher from Boise State, best edge rusher at this point that fits the Ravens. I think you fit that outside linebacker spot in their 3-4. And, pretty much their pressure is generated from blitz. And the only thing from the outside is Matthew Judon, who he's had a very solid year. So Curtis Weaver, I think, would be good to add there. They definitely need another pass rusher for the future there. We're on to the second round. We can go through this a little quicker here. The Bengals need another offensive lineman, a tackle, specifically Mekhi Becton, offensive lineman from Louisville. Really the only strong part of that Louisville offensive line. Seen him punish people down the stretch of the season, which is a good help to the offense succeed, I guess. I like the rest of the offense line. I really think they only need one more piece because remember, Jonah Williams is coming back. I think some of the young guys can start picking it up. Some young guys have been a little disappointing. I think they can start picking it up. So they just add this tackle here with Joe Burrow, who they got. And the Colts, who have 2 picks here in the second round. The first one, they take Gross Matos, the defensive end from Penn State. I like him in the Colts system there. More of a defensive end. They definitely need to get more pass rush. They need to get more pressure on the quarterback. Matos couldn't be that guy. He has a potential to be first-round pick, like much of these guys we'll talk about here. But the Colts grab him. They have another pick coming. C.J. Henderson, another guy has potential to be a first-round pick. Their cornerback from Florida. We've seen him not play in the bowl game, and it looks like they were missing him on one side, too. You see how good he is there. I think kind of a do-it-all corner. He can be physical at the same time. He can be a playmaker. The Lions, I had them taking Derek Brown in the first. It was between Derek Brown and Jeff Okudah. Well, you get Derek Brown and you get C.J. Henderson. Fill some needs there. The Giants, it was kind of throughout the season, and the hope, I think, around the fan base was, let's get that second pick. Let's get Chase Young. If they had the first pick, they would take Chase Young. They're unable to do that, with their pick in the first round. But what they're able to do is fill their last need on the offensive line, and Andrew Thomas, in terms of the offensive line, the last need. But the other big need, kind of going back to that edge rusher spot, now they can get their edge rusher. Julian Okwara, who has the potential to be a first-round pick, has all the traits, and big time, I think, in their 3-4 defense there. I think you can play outside linebacker there. Guy that can drop back into coverage, can pretty much do it all. Chargers, a little bold here. We'll see if Jake Fromm declares. We're still waiting on that, so hopefully he does, because some people might be watching this after the fact and think I included a guy that went back to school. But the Chargers, take a chance on him. They could double down on the offensive lineman. They still got some other young pieces I think could step up. But they get their quarterback of the future. I don't think he starts right away. My only problem with Fromm is, a lot of the times Georgia had to find ways to win. Basically, they had to rely on their run game, but when they had to find ways to win in their passing game, it was kind of just short stuff, and that's some problems. There's some problems in that around the league that teams aren't succeeding on, but you can see he has it. He kind of has that clutch factor. He's very accurate. So just work with him. Get him some big playability somehow, which is hard to coach. But at the same time, I think he has it in him. It's just kind of getting it out of him. You can't give a guy big playability. I think it's in him a little bit. But at the same time, I worry a little bit. That's why some other people might be higher on Fromm than I am. The Panthers take maybe my favorite player in the draft, Chase Claypool, wide receiver from Notre Dame. To me, this guy's a first-rounder easily. I mean, this guy has everything to his game. Big body. He is a very, very good contested catcher, can high point the ball, but he played in the slot a lot for a 6'4 guy, and he can run very good routes. I don't see anything wrong. I mean, he can block, too. I don't see anything wrong with this guy's game. He's got, I'm not saying he is him, but he's got a little Michael Thomas to him. This could be, you saw Michael Thomas was supposed to be a good receiver class. He was kind of dropped back a little bit. This could be that guy. I would love him with DJ Moore in the Panthers. We had him taking Jeff Okudah in the first round. Man, I would love this pick. Claypool is the ultimate sleeper so far. There's a couple other ones we'll talk about. Dolphins, they go quarterback, they go pass rush, and they go running back in the first round. Now it's time to build that offensive line. There's been a lot of success finding some offensive linemen in the second round, and they can do that here with a couple picks. Austin Jackson, who has another one that has potential to be a first-round pick. He'll play tackle for them, really the only strong part of that USC offensive line. And the Dolphins grab him there. So now they're building up a lot of big needs. The Cardinals go Creed Humphrey, offensive lineman in Oklahoma, more of a guard, and it happens to be they get two of Kyler Murray's former teammates. That would be something. It just kind of all makes sense here. But they could use a tackle, equally as much as a guard. But there's really, Kyler Murray's best outside the pocket, but we want to give him shots inside the pocket here. So I think Creed Humphrey at the guard spot could help them big time here. We're on the next 8 picks. We got the Browns getting a steal here. I think this would be a steal. He ended up dropping down a little bit. Xavier McKinney, a safety from Alabama. I think this guy has potential to do pretty much anything back there in the secondary. He can play safety. He can play in the box. He's very instinctive. He's very, physical guy. I've seen him press. I want to see more of it. I think he can play corner. I mean, this guy is very physical at the line. I think this guy can play corner, but most likely a safety, which the Browns actually desperately need. Now, the Jags, this is kind of where it gets tough for the Jags because now I have them taking 3 defensive players when they do need more help on offense. But my thinking here with the Jags is they can turn this defense back into elite defense, which it was 2 years ago when they got to the AFC Championship game. It's easier to do that and then kind of slowly rebuild the offense here in some spots. So they add Isaiah Simmons, plug-and-play linebacker, freak guy, game changer. They had Javon Kinlaw, who is going to be a stud interior defensive lineman for them, which they desperately need. They lost Jalen Ramsey, and they need somebody to pair with Boye, and they get Paulson Adebo, cornerback from Stanford, who I like a lot. I think he's a Jaguars corner too. I think he's pretty physical, but at the same time he does a very good job attacking the ball. So now they're making this. They're going for that elite defense here, which is the key to their success, the easier key to their success. So that's what the kind of the route here. But at the same time, you need more power on that offense, but you could focus free agency, on the offensive free agency. The Bears are a tricky team, but the good thing is for Bears fans, even though they don't have a first-round pick, they're going to have 2 second-round picks. We'll talk about the other one here in a second. But tricky with the Bears because biggest needs. What are the Bears' biggest needs? I still think quarterback. I think quarterback's biggest need, but you can't really take advantage of the opportunity right here. I think, to me, I think pass rusher is a huge need. Khalil Mack's not going to waste. That's a little much saying that, but you can get more out of Khalil Mack with a better pass rush on the opposite. Leonard Floyd seemed like he picked up his game in the run stop, in terms of run game. But, I mean, you got to find somebody new. There's just not enough pressure whatsoever. You absolutely have to find somebody new. So I almost would argue pass rush could be their biggest need, but they also need a tight end pretty badly, and you could use another offensive lineman. But kind of backtracking, big problem with maybe my biggest need at pass rush is it's a pretty bad class. There's some really good guys early. Talk about Chase Young, you talking about Chase On, you talking about Epinesa, guys like that, and Terrell Lewis, who I really like. There's more guys up there, and then kind of as soon as Okwara or Weaver come off the board, there's a big drop off, and that's why I think for an offseason plan, the Bears may have to focus on pass rush in free agency, just getting one pass rusher that fits their defense. I mentioned tight end was a big need, so they get Bryson Hopkins, kind of a do-it-all tight end, very athletic, a big play guy, which they need. Burton just can't stay on the field. I really don't like that situation. It's gonna have to be. I would move on from him. I don't like that situation. Shaheen was an obvious miss. So get Hopkins in there. Kind of build that offense up, which they desperately need to do. My problem with Pace, in the past was just trading up too much, so hopefully he can stop himself here. But We'll see. Maybe they have to go up and get Cole Kmet, but they may have to move up a lot. The Colts with another pick. We've seen them go quarterback. We've seen them go pass rusher. Now they get a huge need, in my opinion, in Brandon Ayuk, receiver from Arizona State, kind of a do-it-all guy, big play guy, and he's a returner as well. Freak athlete. My favorite thing about him, and a reason you can, if he goes in the first, I think this would be the reason why, on top of his athleticism, was I'm seeing him read defenses already, and which is a rare thing for in college. I see him reading defenses, the kind of the negative, or maybe why he's lower, because I think there are better receivers, but ability to get off the press, that's a concern to me. But there's just so much positive in there where it's a very good pick here for the Colts. They need a receiver. I think this is their type of receiver as well. The Bucs, like I said, to me, their biggest need is getting that running game going. I think they can sign Winston back to a maybe a 1-year deal, another prove-it deal, and get a quarterback that could be Arians' future. But they need a running game to help that quarterback. Travis Etienne from Clemson is an absolute beast. He is involved in the pass game. Small passes, slip screens. That's the ones he takes the distance, but you wish he can catch the ball a little bit better. That's kind of the only slight flaw there. But this really gets the run game going. Offensive line, they could use another tackle, but it's a tricky spot here. I think they'd rather go ETN here in this situation. So a pretty good draft going for the Bucs so far. The Broncos, we had them getting a big-time receiver in Henry Ruggs. Now they get Jeff Gladney, who I'd consider in the first round. It's kind of one of those Mike Zimmer cornerbacks I was talking about. He's really physical, but he has great athleticism too at the same time. And the Broncos definitely need another corner. Chris Harris, a free agent, even with him, and they need another one. So this could be a Vic Fangio type corner as well for the Broncos. Could be a first-round pick. Chuba Hubbard going to the Falcons, running back Oklahoma State. In terms of college, around the college, the talk around college football, he's got a lot of hype. But when it comes to the NFL draft, I think people are sleeping on Chuba Hubbard. I mean, it's another one of those guys where you just can't really find a flaw to his game. He's got everything. He's rapidly improving. He's got the strength. He's got the speed. The Falcons, I think, Freeman started to pick it up, but they need to improve that running game. It'll help the passing game. I had the Falcons taking a defensive player earlier because their defense needs more work than their offense, but at the same time, what's the key to the Falcons getting back to the playoffs and further? It's their offense needs to be elite. So go get the weapons on their offense. Chuba Hubbard would make that offense a lot better. The Jets take Lucas Nang, offensive lineman from TCU. A couple of TCU guys here, some playmakers from TCU. Nang was getting a lot of first-round talk. But the reason he falls down, he actually had season-ending injury early in the year. So he'll fall a little bit for that reason, but the Jets get a tackle, which they desperately need here, a guy that can be a starter instantly as long as he's healthy. We're on to the next 8 picks. A.J. Terrell, another corner. Some corners starting to come off the board. A.J. Terrell is a heck of a corner from Clemson. It kind of shows the strength of the corner class. Really, there's only one elite guy, so then there's a gap then. But then, this is where we feel how good the corner class is right here. The Steelers need another one. Joe Hayden had played a pretty good year, actually, but he's not going to last forever. And then, Mike Hilton's more of the slot guy. He's a free agent, but you definitely need another one out there. A.J. Terrell could be a good pick here. Could be tricky because Steelers could be looking for the quarterback in the future. I don't think you find the answer here. They need a tight end. We see the Bears already stole Hopkins from Purdue. And I guess you could use another offensive lineman. I think running back's also a need. Connor can't stay healthy. You also need some speed to pair with Connor, limit his carries so he stays healthy. But a best player and a need here, A.J. Terrell. The Bears with their second pick take Wisconsin's guard Tyler Biadasz from Wisconsin. There, he'll play guard, instant plug and play for the Bears there. Which people say line's their biggest need. I wouldn't really agree. I think once they swapped Daniels and Whitehair back, they definitely got better. But I do agree that they have a need at one. I think they need one more offensive lineman in there. They could be looking for tackles of the future. You're not going to find a better tackle right now than their current guys, which they were a little off, and there were some injuries with Massey mainly compared to last year. But you're not really going to find better, especially without a first-round pick there. I think there's one starter needed there, I guess where Kyle Long was, which he retired, but he was done early in the year. But Biadasz from Wisconsin, I'm not as high on him as everyone else, but I think this would be a good pick here. I think he was better maybe last year I don't want to say struggled, but his best games weren't when he played, the better competition, but he's still a very strong offensive lineman. This would be a good pick, and I think he's a plug-and-play starter for them. Cowboys get their safety. I think Ashton Davis is their type of safety, instinctive guy. We've seen him kind of back by himself, in the back end, but also seen him a lot in the box and even manning up on a guy in the line. So that's that Cowboys safety that they desperately need. Nick Harris for the Rams, offensive lineman from Washington. A plug-and-play guard, I think, for them. Which they desperately need. They need an offensive lineman in general. I think, right now, kind of like the Bears, right now to help them right now, where they need to plug and play starter, I think they need a guard. I think they're going to need to find tackles of the future, though. So similar situation there. Eagles get their corner in Bryce Hall, once thought was a first-round pick. Dropped a little bit because he was better last year than this year, but a physical guy, a lockdown guy. Eagles would love to have him. Bills get their receiver, like I said, a big need. They wait to the second. They get the big play, downfield guy in Michael Pittman, which I think Josh Allen needs. He needs this type of receiver out there. The Falcons now with another pick, they go Justin Madubuike from Texas A&M, who I think is one of those more underrated guys in this draft. You see him at 50, you see that 55. He is way better than that on my board. When my board does come out, a lot of film to watch and a big process there. But this guy's a beast. He ends up falling down. And it's not the biggest need for the Falcons. Why? Because they have Grady Jarrett, who's one of the better interior defense linemen in the class. But they need another one with him. They pair these two guys together, guys that can get great pass rush from the interior. That's a game changer. And that's maybe an easier to find their success when their pass rush struggles with that way and throw some teams off. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me. The Dolphins double down in the second round with their offensive lineman to take Josh Jones, who could be a tackle. So they got their starting tackles. Possibly they can slide one into guard. So they get three playmakers in the first round, and they get the offensive lineman in the second round. Really liking the idea of the Dolphins draft here up to this point. And then finally, we're getting through it here. The Titans take Anthony Jennings, edge rusher, Bama. A year ago looked like a first rounder. Took a step down this year. Really long arms, really good pass deflector. Can get after the quarterback. And the Titans do need another pass rusher, and he'll fit their system for sure. A lot of Bama guys here in a row. Najee Harris, running back from Alabama. The Texans need a better run game. Plain and simple, they need a better run game. Carlos Hyde's also a free agent. Najee Harris can do it all. Kind of reminds me of Melvin Gordon a little bit. So, they can go multiple ways here. They can go with a pass rusher as well. I think the Titans kind of take that last one that's worthy of this pick. Maybe Bond from Wisconsin's a possibility. That's actually a pretty good fit there, I think. I like Najee Harris for them. Right there in that spot. The Vikings, Raekwon Davis, defensive lineman, Alabama. Another Alabama guy that once we thought maybe, a couple years ago, we thought maybe he's a future top pick. Took a step down last year. Sometimes looked a little lost for some reason. A big body guy, a guy that, the Vikings defense want to work with. Vikings been putting a lot of defensive ends across their whole line because there's not too much coming from the interior. That's the guy that I think they'll use. I think the Vikings desperately need a receiver. It's pretty much Diggs and Thielen out there, and they're trying to get other guys involved and can't. But they're a team that'll wait maybe to the third round or fourth, whoever it may be, to actually get the receiver. Here's another receiver that actually has potential to go first round because there's so many of them. One of them will be down here, and KJ Hamler, receiver from Penn State, a do-it-all guy, freakish athlete, great vision as well, could be a returner. It's the type of guy I think the Seahawks need kind of underneath. They got Lockett, who kind of can do it all. DK Metcalf's kind of the deep ball guy. And they kind of got injury problems in there. So get another guy from underneath. I think that makes that offense that much more dangerous. KJ Hamler, like I said, he's so freakish he could possibly go first round. Size could be a concern for some front offices out there, coaches. I think he's listed at 5'9", but I want to say he's definitely less than 5'9". It's not a problem for me. The guy's a stud, but he could be the reason he comes off a little later. The Chiefs get their corner now, Jalen Johnson, a playmaking corner for Utah. Big-time defense. That's a big reason there. The Packers get their linebacker, Troy Dye, the captain of the Oregon Ducks there. Very instinctive guy, and a guy that's going to fly around and make the hits. Kind of looking at him and kind of looking at his body, you're kind of surprised at how sure tackler he is and the hits that he makes sometimes. The Seahawks pick again, so this is very interesting. They take Marlon Davidson, defense lineman from Auburn. This is their type of guy. They want that guy that can move around a bit. It's a guy that played a little bit of DN, but also could be more of that 3 technique guy. Quentin Jefferson had an outstanding year, and he was kind of their key to their defense. He was moving around a bit in that way. They very well could get him back, but they can add another one here in Marlon Davidson, who can get after the quarterback, help them. And Clowney from the actual edge is a free agent as well, but you would like to think they can get him back. Ziggy Ansah didn't work out. He will remain a free agent, I think. And the Ravens, They're pretty good up front, but a lot of veteran guys that are not going to last a whole bunch longer, and definitely worth the pick here. Neville Gallimore from Oklahoma, a stud up front, can play the nose, can slide over traditional D tackle spot as well. So the Ravens would like him very much in there. But a lot of guys that could have been included that were left out, and that's just how it works. A lot more running backs that I like. I think there's going to be some steals, some running backs, even after that. Some guys that I think could even be, I like Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt a lot. I like Akers from Florida State. I know guys like that, man. Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. Those guys may be well worth the second-round pick. I think teams are going to get steals with guys like that. We can talk all day about the running back receiver class loaded. Jacob Eason's a quarterback that can sneak in for sure. So, we'll see. We'll see. Really enjoy making these mocks, so let me know your guys' thoughts. Please subscribe to both of the channels for even more content. Really appreciate it. Follow the Twitter. Always talking NFL draft and just NFL in general on there. So follow the Twitter. Link in the description for all that. Really appreciate you guys. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. That's going to do it. Goodbye.